So let's set the scene. It's November 14th, 2004. Two U.S. Navy Super Hornets are out on a routine training exercise way out over the Pacific.
And that's when the radar operator on the USS Princeton starts seeing, well, something impossible.
This is the Nimitz encounter. It's really become the gold standard of modern UFO cases, right?
It has, because you have everything. Credible witnesses, radar data, and an object, they called it the Tic Tac, that behaved in ways that are, frankly, unbelievable.
So the pilots describe it as what, a solid white object? About 40 feet long.
Yeah, wingless, tailless, and it drops almost instantly from 80,000 feet, we're talking near the edge of the atmosphere, down to hover just 50 feet above the waves.
In seconds. And the maneuvers.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me. The pilot, Lieutenant Commander David Fravor, he's a Top Gun. He flies right at it.
And he says the object just mirrors his movements, then accelerates past him at a speed he describes as, and I'm quoting, nothing I've ever seen.
But it didn't just fly off.
No, that's the kicker. Minutes later, the Princeton picks it up again on radar 60 miles away.
60 miles? An F-18 would take minutes to cover that for this thing.
It was instantaneous. The G-forces for that kind of movement, I mean, they would crush any human body, any known propulsion system.
Okay, and that is exactly where conventional science hits a brick wall. We keep asking, where are they from? Assuming it's a question of distance, light years.
But the physics of the Nimitz encounter, it suggests something else. What if the problem isn't distance, but dimension?
Which brings us to the big question from Enrico Fermi, the Nobel laureate.
The Fermi paradox. If the universe is this huge, teeming with stars and planets, then why is it so quiet? We're listening and nothing.
Maybe we're just listening for the wrong thing. I mean, what if we're like an ant on a busy sidewalk?
How so?
We're using our best tools, our radio telescopes, to search for a horse and buggy, but we're completely missing the maglev train that's silently flying right over our heads.
Exactly. A civilization that advanced might have evolved beyond matter itself. They could be existing in a reality that's layered right on top of ours.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to explore this, the interdimensional hypothesis, by looking at quantum physics and, well, something you wouldn't expect.
Ancient Buddhist cosmology. We're going to make the case that these UFOs, these aliens, aren't visitors, they're neighbors.
Okay, so let's start with the science, the interdimensional hypothesis, or IDH. This was proposed by the astronomer Jacques Vallée.
Right. And Vallée's idea was that these things aren't coming from other planets in our dimension. They're coming from adjacent dimensions that just intersect with ours from time to time.
And this isn't just sci-fi, is it? Modern physics kind of opens the door for this.
It really does. I mean, look at string theory. It suggests the universe isn't just our 3 spatial dimensions plus time. It suggests 10 or 11 dimensions.
Oh, are they?
They're curled up or hidden, so small we can't see them.
There's that analogy of the garden hose, right?
That's a great one. From far away, a hose looks like a one-dimensional line. An ant walking on it only sees forward and back.
But if you get close...
You see the other dimension, the circle, the curled up part that the water flows through. Those hidden dimensions could be right here all around us.
Okay, so let's go back to that ant. Let's say it's on a 2-dimensional sheet of paper. What happens if a 3-dimensional object like a bird flies through the paper?
The ant doesn't see a bird, it sees a bizarre circular shape that materializes out of nowhere, moves in a way that breaks all the rules of its 2D world, and then just vanishes.
That is a perfect description of the Nimitz encounter.
It is. They're not traveling millions of miles. They're just passing through our plane of perception.
If we're looking for a place for these dimensions to, exist, astronomy gives us a huge hint.
Dark matter and dark energy. This is the biggest mystery in cosmology. Everything we can see and touch, all the stars, planets, us. It's only about 5% of the universe.
5%. So 95% of reality is what?
Unknown, unseen. We just call it dark because we can't see it, but we know it's there from its gravitational pull.
Okay, now here's where it gets really wild. Let's connect this to the ancient texts.
What if that 95% isn't empty? What if the 31 realms of existence described in Buddhist cosmology aren't metaphors for heaven and hell?
You're saying they're not up in the clouds or underground?
I'm saying they could be occupying that dark matter and dark energy, coexisting with us in the exact same space, but just on a different, let's call it a different frequency.
So modern physics gives us the empty stage, and these ancient texts provide the cast of characters.
Precisely. They give us the map.
Let's get into that map then. The Trifum. It categorizes life based on the refinement of their mind, their energy. So what's the key trait of these beings?
The concept is called apatika. It means instantaneous birth.
Instantaneous birth.
Yeah, beings that just spring into existence fully formed, no mother, no womb, no reproduction as we know it. They're born from the pure force of consciousness or karma.
Wow. Okay, because when you think about the classic gray alien reports,
You see the connection. They're often described with no navel, which implies no umbilical cord, no womb birth, minimal digestive or reproductive systems.
so they're almost like biological androids, projections.
Their form is much more subtle. A mind that's highly technical and detached from emotion might naturally manifest a body that's all about function, not messy biology.
Okay, so if they just pop into existence, how do they get around the ships, the vehicles,
The texts call them vimanas, usually translated as a heavenly palace or chariot.
a palace that moves?
It's described as a moving dwelling, yes. It's self-luminous, it shines, and it travels according to the owner's will.
Mind control.
Exactly. Mind control navigation. They're often described as round, spinning, shining like a sun.
That is a direct parallel to the modern mothership idea. But mind control. That sounds like magic, not physics.
But what if their technology isn't based on combustion, but on consciousness? The Vimana is powered by chit by will, by mind. The tech is in the pilot's consciousness.
And that would explain the impossible maneuvers, the 90-degree turns.
Yes. There's no sonic boom, no G-force, because they aren't pushing against air. They're using their minds to manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. A thought-driven vehicle.
Okay, so now we know how they're born and how they travel. Who are they? Who are our neighbors?
We humans exist in what's called the Kamahava, the sensual realms. This includes our plane and the very lowest heaven, the Chatamaharayika.
And that's the critical point, the overlap.
That's the closest realm to us, and its population is incredibly diverse. You have Nagas, which are serpent beings, Yakshas, who are like giants, Gandharvas.
Which could explain why UFO reports are so varied and sometimes sound like myths. The reptilian stories could link back to Nagas, the tall beings, the Yakshas.
It's possible. Their vibrational frequency is close enough to ours that a little dimensional bleed-through could make them visible.
What about higher up the ladder?
You get to the Rupabhava, the form realms. These are the Brahmas. They're beings of light and energy, incredibly refined. They don't have coarse needs like we do.
No eating, no sleeping.
They're sustained purely by the joy of deep meditative states. Their forms are radiant, non-sexual, tall, beautiful.
That sounds exactly like the Nordic alien encounters.
Yeah.
The light being people report seeing.
It's a very close match, highly evolved spiritual entities.
Which begs the question, if they're so advanced, living in these blissful realms, why on earth would they come down to our messy, chaotic world?
That is the most incredible part of all this. The answer is in a text called the Mahasamaya Sutta, the Great Assembly.
The Great Assembly.
It describes what is essentially an intergalactic summit. Representatives from 10,000 Lokahatas think solar systems, or even galaxies, sent their divas, brahmas, nagas to Earth.
Okay, and why did they come? For our resources, our water.
No, they came to pay respect and to listen to the spiritual teachings of the Buddha.
Wait, they came to listen to us.
It's the ultimate paradigm shift. It suggests that these incredibly advanced civilizations value mind-aware spiritual evolution more than hardware or technology.
Their long, perfect lives made them complacent.
Exactly. Spiritually lazy. They looked to the human realm where our suffering forces us to seek wisdom as a place to sort of refuel spiritually.
So let's talk about the mechanics of that interaction. How do they communicate across dimensions?
Primarily through what the texts call Jedo Paryanyana, telepathy, knowing the minds of others.
So no spoken language.
Why would you need it? It's slow, it's clumsy. They can send packets of pure meaning, of pure intention, directly into another consciousness.
Which is why our radio telescopes are hearing nothing but silence. We're listening for whispers, and they're communicating on a psychic internet.
A consciousness network. And this also ties into time. Einstein showed us time is relative.
Right, time dilation.
Well, this cosmology confirms it and even gives specific numbers. For example, in that lowest heaven we talked about, the Chatamaharayika, one day there is equal to 50 human years on Earth.
50 years. That perfectly explains the missing time phenomenon in abduction cases.
It does. The person feels they were gone for a few minutes, but hours, even days have passed here. They haven't traveled through space. They've just shifted to a dimension where time flows differently.
But we have to address the dark side of this.
Yeah.
Not all these beings are benevolent.
No, not at all. The forces of Mara, the spiritual tempter, and other malevolent entities also exist as apatika, and they don't want our gold.
They want our energy.
They want what some call lusa energy, the energy created by our fear, our anger, our confusion, our division. They essentially farm humanity for negative emotional charge.
So if contact happens, how do you tell the difference? How do you know if you're talking to a wise teacher or a cosmic parasite?
The ultimate filter is the Dharma, the truth itself. You have to look at the message. Does it lead to greed, hatred, and delusion? That's a negative force.
Or does it inspire peace, wisdom, mindfulness?
Then it's a positive force. You have to judge the fruit, not the shiny spaceship it arrived in.
It reminds me of that story, the Kavada Sutta. A monk travels all the way to the highest heaven to ask a deep question.
Right, and he meets the Mahabrahma, this incredibly powerful being who thinks he's the creator of the universe.
And the Brahma pulls him aside secretly.
And whispers, "I don't know the answer. You have to go back to Earth and ask the Buddha."
That's the crucial warning, isn't it?
It is. Just because a being has high technology or can travel between dimensions doesn't mean they have wisdom. They could still be just as lost and confused as we are, just with better toys.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the connections are just. They're undeniable. The details from modern UFO reports, the telepathy, the mind-controlled craft, the instantaneous birth, they line up almost perfectly with these ancient descriptions of Upatika, Vimana, and a crowded, multi-layered reality.
It really seems we are not alone. In fact, our reality is incredibly crowded. But amidst all this, the texts always emphasize one thing: the unique importance of the human realm.
The Manusha Bhumi.
Yes, the gods and Brahmas actually envy humans because we have the perfect balance of pain and pleasure. We have enough suffering to motivate us to find a way out, and just enough happiness to sustain the journey. This is the best place in all the realms to achieve true freedom.
So here's the final thought for you. You don't need a billion-dollar telescope. You don't need a spaceship. The most advanced piece of equipment for interdimensional travel is already installed inside you.
It's your own trained mind. The practice of meditation, of mindfulness, sati, and samadhi is what refines the mind. It allows you to tune the receiver to pick up these other frequencies. But it's pakata. It has to be known by you, for yourself.
The Buddha used this incredible image. He said that being born human is rarer than a blind sea turtle who surfaces only once every 100 years, happening to put its head through a single wooden yoke floating on the entire ocean.
We are that turtle. Impossibly and miraculously lucky.
So why are we spending this precious, rare opportunity staring up at the sky, waiting for a savior in a silver ship?
When the real vehicle, the one that can cross the entire ocean of suffering, the sila, samadhi, pana of virtue, concentration, and wisdom, is docked right here in your own mind.
That is the ultimate limitless technology.